Yeah, it's your boy, Gackt Cognac, back with another video. So, I know a viewer was like asking me, why don't you do like a tier list video for Resident Evil? Because like, you know, your favorite game is like Resident Evil, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, Resident Evil is definitely one of my favorite franchises. Now, I was kind of wanting to wait till I played them all, but I don't know, like I don't think I'll ever get to play all of them, man. Like some of the ones like on Game Boy and all that, some of the spin-offs, like I'm probably never gonna play. So the ones that I don't that have never played, even so I have watched videos on it, so I kind of know like how the game is. So yeah, I don't know, why don't we just start? So let me load up the screen real quick. So I always thought there was more Resident Evil games, but I guess this is still a good amount. This is like over 25 games, I think, right? Anyways, I have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier. D tier being the worst, I guess. Alright, so, man, I see the first one that comes up right now is Revelations 2. Now, I haven't played that game. I've been trying to like find like a co-op partner to play Resident Evil Revelations 2. Hopefully Hyphy Gold or something has some time to play with me, because that's like the only way to actually enjoy Revelations 2. So as far as I know, like Revelations 2 is kind of like, you know, Claire's side story, and then now having played Revelations 1, it's pretty much like Revelations 1, but a lot of things are supposed to be better on it. So this is gonna be hard for me to grade on this one, man. I do really want to play this one, but Claire hasn't been in the series for hella long, so like she was overdue. So that was a good thing that they brought Claire back, because everyone's been missing like her and where the hell she's been. So I'm gonna have to give Resident Evil Revelations 2 like great. You know, even though I never played it, I have seen it. I'm giving it great because, like Revelations 1, they decided to go back to the horror like genre. Anyways, I know Revelations 1 is all the way over here. I'm just gonna put them together. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put Revelations 1 right next to Revelations 2. Both good. Like I said, I never played Resident Evil Revelations 2, but 1 I played and beat the hell out of. Got like 1,000 score on it. But I think these are they complement each other very well. At the same time, I remember, man, I never got to play it on the DS. Now I do have it on the DS. I have it on like every console now. I actually played it on the Xbox when they decided to port it over. I might even have to like drop Revelations down to good and then keep A great, because I don't know, like I gotta give a lot of credit to Revelations 1. The fact that they made it on the 3DS and then they were able to add all the horror aspects into it, make it like playable in its own way for the DS, because you had to do certain things on there to like I don't know, do your detective work or whatever you had to do in that game, and like you got to be kind of immersed in the DS controls. So man, I just love that game. It was that good. But even though I enjoyed it on Xbox, man, like just thinking back on it, I'm like, damn, the game's graphics were hella good even for the DS. So they spent a lot of time on it, and surprisingly, Resident Evil Revelation 1 was a long ass game. It was hella long. It had hella chapters, man. So I don't know how the hell they fit that many chapters into a DS game or 3DS game, but they did. So, and then after that, they're gonna have raid mode in there too. Like, whew. I don't know. I gotta give it to them, man. If you haven't played that game, check it out. It is one of Jill's storyline, and I do like Jill out of everyone else in the series. So, because she's like the main girl, so I was happy to see her back. All right. Next one's another one I haven't played, man. Like you would think, like, oh man, you're such a big Resident Evil fan, you would have played Resident Evil 7, right? But nah, I was very disappointed when I heard like they was making Resident Evil 7 first person game, and like we don't even know none of the characters, all that stuff, man. Everything about it like made me just fucking, disappointed in the game. So I'm not gonna say it's a bad game, but I was just very disappointed in the whole thing to the point where I boycotted it. I just watched the game played and that's it. But I'm gonna have to give it good. Like, a lot of people think it was the best game, blah 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 blah. But to me, it's just not a Resident Evil game, man. It has nothing to do with Resident Evil, So I felt like this game was like another game, like created, like another horror game they were creating, and then decided, let's make this a Resident Evil. Now, there might be some fact to it. I don't know the whole backstory to it, but I know Capcom has been known time after time to do shit like that. Like, back in the days, Devil May Cry was like supposed to be Resident Evil 4, right? But they scrapped it. So a lot of times they throw games around and they just put titles on it. And so Resident Evil 7, I just didn't feel like it was a Resident Evil game. So I would even put it between like B and C. Because, being a fan of Resident Evil is all about the lore, man, and all that stuff. But I didn't even think Ethan was that interesting of a character. We don't even know who he was. I thought Mia Winters was annoying as fuck. The characters, they're just not likable characters in that game, man. So I didn't really care for it. I felt like they tried to make it kind of like a Silent Hill PT type of setting. So I don't know. I don't have much to say about the game. Plus, at the same time, it was kind of like, fuck, there's only like 4 enemies in that game besides the bosses. So I felt like it was lazy, man. It's a good looking game. I might play it when they fucking port it over to like PS5 with the ray tracing and stuff. But it's a scary game on top of that. Like, I give them that. But like I said, it's just not Resident Evil, so I couldn't give it a better score than a B. Alright, here's another one I haven't played, but if you think about it, if you play Resident Evil 5 Mercenaries, you pretty much played this game. This is the Mercenaries 3D on the 3DS. So basically this is only Mercenaries games. If you enjoyed Mercenaries on Resident Evil 5, this is like a very downgraded version because, the graphics aren't that good. But you do have like more levels and characters and all that stuff in it. So it's just on your preference if you enjoyed the Mercenaries games. Me, however, I enjoy Mercenaries games. Given from what I know, I'm gonna give it a good. It would get great, but I'm gonna give it a good. Because like I said, it's only Mercenaries. So what more can you get? I don't know. I might even drop it down to a time killer. Because that's all you can do is kill time with it. You're not really progressing in a story or anything like that. So yeah, I think I couldn't give it better than a C. Anyways, Resident Evil 5 did come up, man. Like, Resident Evil 5 has its flaws. Like, can't say it's the best, but you can't say it's a bad game. Fuck, Resident Evil 5 was, like, to me, hella fun. That was during a time when I was still friends with somebody that I played co-op with a lot. So we played a lot of co-op games together. And Resident Evil 5 happened to be one of the games like we beat. During that time I was working at GameStop, so I probably beat this game in co-op with like everybody that liked Resident Evil that I knew. Like, that's how much time I spent on Resident Evil 5. Like, literally just went through the freaking story mode with all the homies, everyone that wanted to play with me one time. So such a great time, man. And then the Mercenaries mode, whew, hella good. But only thing, like I said, the flaw was, and this game had a lot of anticipation too at the same time, because I remember I was waiting for it. But the flaw was, once again, this game was hella actiony, right? So it wasn't like Resident Evil 4 where it had a lot of horror aspects. It was just straight action, rocket launchers going all over the place, stuff like that. But at the same time, I did really enjoy the series. It was hella over the top, it has fucking Boulder punching Chris in there and all that. But it was an enjoyable game. It was the first time we've seen a co-op Resident Evil game. So that was a game changer for me. And then, like I said, Mercenaries mode, hella fun. They had the DLC, the Desperate Escape, and the other one. Those were hella fun. And I just remember, like, looking back, me and the friend tried to, like, beat it on professional mode. Oh man, what should have been like a 30-minute mission took us like 6 hours. It was so funny because we kept dying, but we were just having such a blast, man. Anyways, so Reverse is not even really out. They have the demo, and then this is supposed to drop in October with like the Resident Evil Village Gold Edition or whatever they're gonna call it, with everything in there. Yeah, I wasn't really too interested in Reverse. A lot of their multiplayer games suck. It's just kind of like a shoot 'em up. I didn't think it was all that. I just say it's another time killer. Yeah, it's cool. You get to play all the characters in the RE engine Resident Evils. But other than that, like, everyone thought it was gonna be like Outbreak or something like that, but it wasn't. So I don't know. I couldn't really recommend it. Like, make the Outbreak like everybody wants, and then, you know, that's it. So, speaking of Outbreak, here it is, the next one right here. I should just start with one before I start with a second, because they got it all not in order and shit. But Outbreak, I hadn't played this game at its peak, so it's really hard for me to judge this game, because, and I really hope they would, you know, remake this or port this over so, you know, we could play, you know, co-op and whatever, because this was an introduction to Resident Evil Online, like the first Resident Evil Online game. And, you know, it's not a perfect game either, but like, it has a really strong like fan base. So by the time I got to it, man, online was like not even there no more. So it was just playing like a single player mode, and that's kind of tough, man. Like, you really need to manage your stuff in this game. But Resident Evil Outbreak, I say it's a great game, because this is the first time we actually got to like explore, you know, the Resident Evil universe, and, you know, everything in 3D in terms of like Raccoon City. So you get a lot of backstory in it. You get to play as like other random characters in the game and see what happened within the city. That was great. Like, man, whoever thought of that, man, I give them credit for that. That was great, you know. And then Fallout 2 came out, same thing. Like I said, I never got to enjoy these games like exactly how I wanted to, because like I had shitty internet back in the days. But I think these two complement each other very well. I say it's great games because during that time, all we had was like SOCOM as an online game, and later like Final Fantasy. But like, there wasn't too many good online games, and Capcom decided to deliver with the online game. You know, when I played it, just played it for the storyline, and like I said, it did disappoint. It did not disappoint. You got to know a lot about like little facts about, you know, the RE universe before like you get all these other games to come out. I don't know, some were trying to give it a B. Maybe I should give it a B, you know? So, I don't know, I'd give it a good. See, I gotta change it up a lot, because like now, like, you know, you kind of remove some of your biases to kind of like make it more realistic. But it was a good game. It was definitely good. It was not bad at all. Alright, Resident Evil Dead Aim. This is another game I haven't played, man. But I think I might have to put this in like a time killer. So Resident Evil Dead Aim was kind of supposed to be like a gun con game, and it has its own storylines. I think it's very similar to Resident Evil Revelations, because they're both on a boat. I've seen and everything about this game. I just never got to play because I don't own the game. I always wanted to get it back then, but didn't. I do kind of like the characters in there. I always thought like the Asian girl was Ada Wong, but you find out it was like some other chick. I'm gonna give it a high C though, a very high C, because it was just meant to be like a side game. But I gave him credit for having some creativity, you know. That was when Capcom was at a height of its creativity, so it was still doing cool shit. Then we got Umbrella Chronicles, which I'm gonna go first with. I thought Umbrella Chronicles was good. It's a really good game. it was like, you know, another like gun con wannabe type of game, a rail shooter. But this was actually a game that made me buy a Wii. Like, I didn't really care for the Wii until this game came out. I went back and tried to play it like a few years ago, and I was like, damn, this is hella hard. Like, how the hell did I play this game so well back then? So it's just like, I don't know, as you grow older, you don't have the concentration that you did back then. So supposedly they use like a lot of Outbreaks maps, and then, you know, continue to go with that. So I like it, man. I thought it was cool. Umbrella Chronicles, or which Dark Side Chronicles, came out a few years later, and the same thing. They're both the same games. Like, I gotta put a lot of these type of games where they came out 1 and 2s in the same areas, because they're essentially the same exact games, except this one kind of focuses on like Leon's side. It kind of gets like his backstory with him and Krauser. So I do like little things like that, and it was pretty cool. Now, this did come out later on like the PS3, but I never played it on there. Let's play it on the Wii. I think the Wii is like the better way to play it. But it was still cool. And these are fairly cheap nowadays. Like, you know, if you just want like a good game to kill some time, I wouldn't give it just a straight time killer. I still thought it was good games, and I do like rail shooters a lot. So I still thought it was a good game, man. So they go together. Here goes Resident Evil 3, right? Hard to grade this before grading the original Resident Evil 3. So I think I'll do Resident Evil 3 first. And I think some of y'all are not gonna agree with me on this one, but Resident Evil 3 is, to me, like the best. Like, it's my all-time favorite Resident Evil. And I know it's supposed to be like a spin-off of Resident Evil, but this was like my real intro to Resident Evil 3. Although I had watched people play Resident Evil 2, I was too scared to play it back then. Like, I never got to play Resident Evil 2 like that. But Resident Evil 3 was when I was like, hell yeah, I'm playing this shit. And I remember it was like I had a really good friend back in middle school that got the game, and he just kept talking about it, and like I just had to get it so I could play and talk to him about it every day at school. So it was like my experience. But it was crazy because I got that game, I think my mom got it for me for my birthday or something like that. And then it was still like kind of scary for me back in the days, but I remember like taking it to my cousin's house, and like we would take turns, but he would like mainly like play through that game because he would just get through all the crazy parts. And man, we had hella fun, man. Especially like after beating the game, then we were introduced to Mercenaries mode. It was like the first game in the Resident Evil series that had like a good ass, like, well, Resident Evil 2 had it too, but it wasn't as good, like refined as Nemesis's real actual Mercenaries mode. So that was hella fun, man. It's got to be the best in the series for me. And then later on, like my greatest dream was to see a Resident Evil 3 remake, man. And me, like everyone else, was like, oh shit, a Resident Evil 3 remake, come on, dude. This is gonna be as good as a Resident Evil 2 remake, right? And man, I was like everyone else, I was hella mad. Like, they cut hella content out of this Resident Evil 3, man. I'm not saying it's a bad game. Standalone wise, Resident Evil 3 remake was a really good game. It was a really solid game. It was a really good addition to Resident Evil 2 remake. So I'm gonna have to like put Resident Evil 3 as good. I would put it as great, but I'm kind of reserving that for Resident Evil 2 remake. But you know, I still enjoyed everything. I still enjoyed the graphics. I enjoyed all that stuff. But the cut content, man, really drags this game down to being just a B. They could have had they could have had Mercenaries mode in there. Come on, that was not that hard. You know, Capcom just got so lazy they cut out like fucking 60 or 70% of the content that was originally from Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. You know, so, and then Nemesis came out, he was in a trash bag. Like, I was kind of mad that they changed him up like that too. Like, I'm just so used to like the original Nemesis. I thought he was like, man, one of the best looking zombie bosses in Resident Evil history, honestly. Best character, man. Dude has a rocket launcher, come on. So like I said, I still played the hell out of it. I still enjoyed it, but it's just you can't compare it to Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. It's just nah, hell nah. But still love the game. So knowing that, we're gonna go to Resident Evil 2. I have to put this right here. Resident Evil 2, yes, GOAT, greatest of all time. I still like 3 better, but 2 was like the intro to like just greatness, because if you're comparing it to Resident Evil 1, they like jump so much further ahead from part 1. So man, it's gonna be like crazy to grade some of these coming up next, but they're gonna be really close to each other. Resident Evil 2, like, is always like, everyone you ask, everyone's gonna tell you like Resident Evil 2 is like the best Resident Evil. Like, come on, you know, it had hella modes basically. You got Leon A and B, then you got freaking what's her name, Claire A and B, right? Then later you get even like Tofu, and you know, you get to play like all these characters, Hunk and all that stuff, right? And man, it was hella good, because like you can replay it so many times. I remember I played with my cousin and we just played every scenario, man, just to see like the true ending and all that stuff. You felt hella accomplished by the time you beat that game. And during that time, I bought that game on Greatest Hits for like $20. So like, I felt like it was one of the few games I got my money's worth for sure. So when Resident Evil Remake 2 came out, man, I was hella excited. Man, I never thought they was gonna remake a Resident Evil game like that. So a lot of people complain, oh, you know, you're not fucking making it the tank controls, third person, whatever, no more. But I didn't care. I was just happy to see it in like 3D, man. Like, I wanted to see like the whole recreation. So Resident Evil 2 was actually a very faithful recreation, or the remake of Resident Evil 2. There's some things that were cut out, but you know, for the, I guess, sake of time and just amount of content. I think the A and B scenarios people were mad about, I didn't really care about it that much, but because it was very similar. Like, it was different in like the first, I don't know, hour or so, and then just became the same game afterwards. A lot of people were mad at that. They said that was lazy. But as a recreation, it was a fairly solid recreation. And then they even had like some DLC and all that to it, so I thought that was cool, man. The fact that they never decided to do any DLC for the fucking Resident Evil 3 pisses me off, man. It's like they didn't give a fuck about it. You know, like, at least do a Mercenaries mode. Come on. You know, it's not even that hard. You already got the groundwork laid out for you. You know, but nope, didn't do it. But remake was good. Still doesn't compare to the original, because, you know, it's the nostalgic thing. Like, a lot of people that played this back in the days has their memories set. So you're not gonna be like, oh, this is gonna trump that shit. It's a solid recreation, but it's not the original. Original Resident Evil 1, man. Like, I know this is like, I can't give this like a good ass whatever. At the same time, I didn't play this game till like way later. So like, even though this is like the original with the shitty graphics and the bad voice acting, man, I don't know, man. I don't think I could give this a solid, even knowing like, you know, this is like the predecessor of 2 and 3. Like, if you never played this like when it first came out, it's really hard to like give it a solid ass grade, even though for its time it was successful. It was known as one of the scariest games until like Silent Hill came out. But you know how clunky it is and bad voice acting and all that. I could probably just give it good, you know, especially because knowing back on Resident Evil Remake 1, like comparing these two, nah. That's why I already automatically put Resident Evil Remake 1 the best, because dude, this is like the most solid remake ever made in history. Like, I don't think there's another game that is as faithful and solid, you know, as this particular remake. First of all, I remember when they first came out with this on GameCube. I was mad that I was on GameCube, but, you know, because I didn't really play GameCube like that. But I was like, look at the graphics to this game, dude. This shit look like, even to this day, when you look back at this remake, it looks hella good. And all people could have asked for some of these remakes was just to remake 2 and 3 just like this. But you know, they decided to go 3D with it. Like, everyone just wants to do their own stupid imaginations nowadays that veers off from the original script. But this is all time, man. I gotta give this the best grade. I beat this during a pandemic, like, to get like all the achievements and stuff like that. Had a blast, even though I had to beat it like 5 times. Had a blast, man. I guess now these games go together, like they kind of in a double pack now. But Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil, like they did the same thing. Well, Resident Evil 0 is his own standalone game, you know. But I haven't played this game ever since, like, a couple years since it came out. And when I played it, I thought it was great. I know a lot of people probably give it a good now, but it's still in the back of my head, the game is still solid. Now, a lot of people are gonna be like, man, there's no fucking inventory systems and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know how I went through that back in the days. That was kind of annoying. But I think I was just happy to play a Resident Evil game. And then you get to play as Rebecca Chambers and all that stuff. But I thought it was a cool, like, backstory. The backstory is kind of weird, but I just thought it was cool. We had to see like another perspective of like how the mansion incident and all that led up to. So during that time, I thought it was good. I never played it ever since like 2008. So in my head, it's still fresh. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, man, that game was fucking garbage. You know, like certain areas of that game. So I'm gonna give it right there. And I thought the graphics was so good during that time. Like, man, whatever they did on the GameCube, they really took advantage of everything. So I like it. Here's a game I played like the demo, and like I just never picked it up after that. I thought Resident Evil Resistance was garbage, man. I mean, I don't want to give it a garbage, but because there's some games on there that's super garbage, man. So I guess I'll give it a time killer, because it's kind of the same thing as the reverse shit. Like, everyone's waiting for Outbreak, and then bam, we get this fake ass Friday the 13th game, or whatever you call it, Death by Daylight type of game. And you know, at the same time, you're just playing characters that you don't even know and shit. I just didn't enjoy it, man. It wasn't all that to me. But I really don't have much to say about the game. Anyways, here's the Gun Survivor game. I haven't played this one because it's only like PAL, or like European release. I know it's a rail shooter, gun con type of game. I know the Nemesis shows up in it though, it's weird. But it's technically Code Veronica, played in a different perspective. But like I said, the Nemesis shows up in this game, which you're like, what the hell? So it's kind of like just playing like Umbrella Chronicles before Umbrella Chronicles came out. But I really don't have much to say about it. I think it's just a good time killer. It's nothing like great to write home about. Umbrella Corpse. I was gonna call it Umbrella Garbage because it is. I never even played the game. I already know it's garbage. This was their first attempt as like a first-person shooter. It was so shitty, man. I thought about getting a copy, but I was like, nah, it's not even really a real game, man. But from what I know, it's a clunky ass game. It's hella glitchy. It's hella garbage. Like, even the controls suck, but they're trying to make a Call of Duty game out of it. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. I didn't think it was a bad game like everyone says. Now, technically, it wasn't really a Capcom made game. It was made by like the people that made SOCOM. So I thought it was okay. It wasn't like hella good, so I can't put it with these. So I'm putting like a C, time killer. But it was like, if you compared it to like these freaking multiplayer games, this game is definitely better than these. But I still have them in the same area. So it's a good time killer. You kind of learn like some other crap that's really not canon to the story. But it was good to kind of see like Raccoon City in better graphics, basically. So, you know, if you just don't regard the whole storyline, just playing it as like a random multiplayer Resident Evil game, it's kind of enjoyable, especially with co-op. Resident Evil 4, man. Resident Evil 4 has gotta be like right up there. See how you get 1, 2, 3, 4? Like, they're all hella good. But Resident Evil 4 was like, it was not all horror, because it was kind of actiony. But man, who doesn't like Resident Evil 4? Now they're gonna remake Resident Evil 4. That's gonna be crazy. I'm actually excited for that. But this is great, man. Like, it was their first time going towards like not for like a third person, but it was very different. I remember back then we used to go on GameTrailers.com and check out, you know, trailers to games, and it was very different to when they first showed this game. Because when Resident Evil 4 first got his debut, it was like he was like in some mansion and Ghost was chasing after him and stuff like that. So they ditched that because they thought like, oh, Resident Evil was supposed to be like a zombie game. Why is this Ghost with a hook chasing after him? Like, that should be like a Fatal Frame game or something. But just the fact that so many times Resident Evil 4 could have been so different, right? Because so many games was supposed to be Resident Evil 4, including like Onimusha, Devil May Cry. Like, there's so many games that were gonna be Resident Evil 4, but all in all, they decided to like scrap everything and create this, and it became one of the best, most perfect Resident Evils, man. So who didn't like that? I remember I was hella mad that GameCube or Nintendo was getting all the Resident Evils, man. So I fucking boycotted. I didn't want to get a GameCube to play this. So finally later, like, I don't know, not even a year later, they decided to release it on PS2. Bought that shit. Bought the premium edition. Man, I would stay up. It would be like school days, but I'd be staying up to like 3, 4 in the morning playing because I just had a blast with this game. Hella fun. And then they had the Mercenaries mode that kind of set it up for how all the other Mercenary modes were going to be. Like how Resident Evil 5 is. Man, Mercenaries mode was hella good. And then they had the Simon Ada. Fuck, man. Everything was so good about the game, dude. Had a great time with it. Code Veronica X, everyone's gonna be like the best fucking game ever. Honestly, I didn't think it was the best. I thought it was cool, but I didn't think it was the best. I don't know. I know, like, you know, it came off a Dreamcast. I played it on there a little bit. Then later I played it on GameCube. But I finally like actually beat Code Veronica on the 360 when they had the HD whatever BS that came out. It's a solid Resident Evil game, man. I'm not gonna lie. It's a good Resident Evil game, you know? But I don't know, like, I think after just playing Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, like, shit, it just set the standard for me, man. But Resident Evil Code Veronica was a really difficult game, though. That's the thing. Especially on the Dreamcast. When they came out with the X and all that on the PS2, I think they made it a little bit easier. There's little things they changed to it, but you really had to manage your freaking bullets in this game. There's several points where, like, you know, fuck, if you didn't save on another file, man, you're fucked because you used up all the items and stuff like that. You can't kill the last boss and, you know, stuff like that. So you really had to manage. It's a beautiful game, man. So it's really hard for me not to give it a best, but just in my experience, I just love these games so much that I never got to really pay attention to Code Veronica like that. So it was kind of like a beat it one and done for me. But it's a really good Resident Evil, man. Just it doesn't make it to my top list because these are my most nostalgic games. Resident Evil Survivor, I had this on bootleg. Man, I couldn't even get through the first like 30 minutes of this game. It was so shitty. Oh god, this is supposed to be like another like rail shooter type of game, but it came out on PS1, and man, the voice acting was terrible in this game. The controls suck. The graphics were as horrible as it could be, and I don't know, it just it was repulsive, man. I just couldn't play it. It was just an ugly ass game. Gaiden's one of those games like I could either put it on trash or time killer. You know, I don't want to really put it on the trash because I think for a Game Boy Color game, it was a decent attempt to make a Resident Evil game on there. There's nothing to really write home about. You're playing as Leon and the controls are very different. You're not like shooting. It's kind of like an RPG game. You're not really like shooting them and stuff like that as you walk around. You kind of load up into this zombie screen and you kind of just like do that Gears of War reloading trick on their asses and kind of press the button at the right time to kill them and stuff. So I don't know, it's like right in between for me. It's nothing really that great about that game. Resident Evil 6, man. Fuck. This one's like very hard to grade, man. Like, it's not garbage. It's not great. It's not the best. I mean, a lot of people don't even want to give this game as good, you know. But I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna have to actually give it better than a C. Like Resident Evil 6, a lot of people be like, "Fuck, this was like a straight out Rambo game. This is like the only good freaking storyline was the Leon one because it actually had zombies in it. You know, it actually had some horror aspects, and it was over the top action. But I don't know. I played this game in co-op with a friend, so like I was able to find enjoyment in it because I played it in co-op. So if you play anything in co-op, it makes it 10 times more fun, even if the game's shitty, right? But I do like the fact that you could play so many storylines. Like you're playing, you know, you could play as Leon, then you could play as Chris's campaign, then you could play as you know, Alba Wesker's son, and then on top of that, as a bonus, you could play as Ada's mission. Like, for some reason, there's a lot of shit that they fit. Because I remember it was 2 discs for the Xbox 360, but there was a lot of content in there. So even though they made it, you know, in a way that a lot of people didn't enjoy, and they still even put a mercenaries mode in there, man. I didn't like the mercenaries mode because I thought it was fucking retarded, but I appreciated that they put that much content in the game, because nowadays, like, we don't see shit. Now, if I had to play as myself, I probably would have been pissed because, you know, of all the dumb stuff that they did. Village, man. Village is a really solid game. Even though it's kind of funny, huh? Kind of makes me hypocritical because I didn't like 8, but I like Village. Well, at least, you know, Village had like the real Chris Redfield in there, not that whack ass one they had added in there at the end in number 8 or number 7. But I don't know, like they really tried to make it a like Resident Evil 4 type of game. It was still a little bit more action than horror, but it was cool. It had its great times, and I had bought this last year when it first came out. Beat the hell out of it. Played all the mercenaries mode. I thought it was a solid ass game in terms of controls, fluidity. Like that had to be like one of the most solid feeling Resident Evil games. I beat it a solid amount of times too. Like I said, Ethan, I still don't really care for the character, but I did enjoy the game. Do I really count these as Resident Evil games? You know, part 7 and 8? Not really, but they did, however, tie this game, you know, more into the greater story, because it talks about, like, you know, how Umbrella was technically founded in this village, and like Spencer and all those guys like kind of studied under like this chick. So that was cool how they tied it all together to make it more feel like a Resident Evil game. I know there's DLC coming out in October and all that, so I'm excited for that. But I enjoyed it, man. There's some parts where it's kind of grueling, but you know, that's like every other game. I think I hated the part, like in the beginning it was cool, but I hated that part where like the baby's chasing after you. I thought it was like hella annoying, because when you beat it so many times and you just gotta like try to sneak around and get past this thing, and it takes forever because you gotta like go through so many like shit. It's like you play it once, fine. After that, they should just let you skip that whole scene. Honestly, it's just annoying. So, let's see. So that's everything, man. So let me know if you agree with this list or not. You know, some people might like some other game better than whatnot. I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit for the Code Veronica shit, but whatever, man. That's how I feel. So, yeah, I mean, just hope you guys enjoyed. You know, I was able to put some content out because, you know, I've been busy lately. But yeah, Resident Evil being one of my favorite franchises, this is my tier list, man. So, yeah, I'll see you guys on the next video. It's your boy, Gackt Cognac, signing out.